Hello.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the B4 presentation. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I want to just extend a couple thank yous, and those thank yous are to the Student Wellbeing and Accessibility team, Rachel, Tony, Leslie, and Kylie. We have put a lot of work to make this event happen. We provide free counseling on campus, and this is an important message to send. So I just want to, again, thank our team for being here. We went really above and beyond with the balloons and the food, so big shout out. I also want to thank Berrien County Suicide Prevention Coalition. They are here to support reducing the stigma around suicide, and they actually funded the live stream here. So thank you, live streamers who are logged into our YouTube channel. It will be something you'll be able to watch after on our LMC YouTube channel, and they funded that, so thank you. I want to thank all of you guys who have taken the time out of your busy student schedules to be here, so I appreciate that. I do want to take a minute to pause here. This presentation was created with intention and compassion to support our campus community. Talking about suicide is difficult. It's heavy, it's vulnerable, it brings up a lot of emotions. But it's important we talk about suicide. It's important we talk about it so we know we're not alone, so we can support each other, so we can have a campus culture of support. And so sometimes we do have to do the right thing and talk about something that's uncomfortable. And so we really want to create this opportunity today and moving forward to be able to have a place to talk about it, to ask our friends, to ask other students, to ask people we care about about suicide. It isn't a scary word. We don't need to be afraid of saying that word. We need to be proactive in asking about it. So thank you for creating this honest space, this dialogue, so we know we're not alone and no one is alone. As a reminder, after today's presentation, we will be here. Our student wellbeing accessibility will be around to be able to talk. We will run through resources, how to connect for counseling and mental health. Please stop by the table again for some additional supports. And we'll have some information. There is a picture QR code, so feel free, please, to take pictures and upload it. At the end of the presentation, there'll be a QR code for an evaluation. And if any of you guys are here for extra credit points, there's a QR code for you to be able to scan that and we'll share with faculty. I just want to take this moment to introduce Terry Hesbrook for the second year. He is the founder of the B4 Foundation, and we are have so much gratitude for you to be here today and to present this topic. Thank you for being here today.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for the opportunity. And I'm Terry Hesbrook. I'm the assistant principal and the athletic director at Ithaca High School. Ithaca High School is a small school located right smack dab in the middle of the state of Michigan. Almost exactly 2.5 hours from here, I found out on the way down. So I want to apologize to everybody in attendance, first and foremost, for a few things. The first thing is my appearance. Okay, I understand when you go and address a group of people, you don't dress as casually as I'm dressed in t-shirt, tennis shoes. Okay, I'm aware of that. I have a master's degree in school administration, and I'll talk a little bit more about what it is that I'm wearing a little bit later in the presentation. Second thing I want to apologize to everybody in attendance for is my head is very foggy. Things that have transpired in our lives, in the Hesbrook family, and the Ithaca community over the last 3 years now, our hearts are absolutely broken. Absolutely broken. I'm not a professional speaker. I'm a father that's been thrust into an absolute awful situation, and we're going to try and make the best of that situation. I refer to my notes a lot because, as I said, my head is foggy, and sometimes I forget where I'm at. I don't forget what school or organization or city that I'm presenting in, but I forget where I'm at in my presentation. So I'll refer back to my notes. Everything I want to say to you today, the message we want you to get from the B4 Foundation, if I get emotional and I grab my bag and I leave, somebody else could come up here and read these notes to you, and you would get the message from the B4 Foundation that we want you to get, whether it's me delivering the message or someone else delivering the message. The third thing is the presentation. Unless you were here last year, presentation will probably be a little bit different than any presentation that you've attended before during your academic years. I don't ask you to do a whole lot. I'm going to ask you to give me your eyes and give me your ears. And so I know that you're paying attention. I drove 2.5 hours, as I mentioned, one way. Okay? To get here, I took half a day off at work to get here to share our son's story, to possibly help somebody in this room. You don't have any idea, and I don't have any idea, if there's someone in this room that needs to hear this message today. You don't know what he's going through, just like he doesn't know what you're going through, and so on throughout the room. So please, if you could give me your eyes and your ears. And then the next thing is really difficult. I'm going to ask that you trust me. And how can you trust someone that you don't even know? Not very many people in this room even know who I am. But I'm going to ask that you trust what it is that I have to say. I didn't drive that far. I didn't take the day off to come down here and lie to you and to make things up and blow smoke up your skirt, so to speak. Okay? I came down here to be as open and honest and transparent with you as I possibly can be, so that hopefully if there is somebody in this room, we can get them the help that they so desperately need that our son Brady wasn't able to get for whatever reason. I'll tell you a little bit about myself first. I retired as a football coach in the state of Michigan after 32 years. I've been on the sideline for 32 years. I had the privilege of being the head coach for 22 of those 32 years. And I had a really rough start. I was at a small school on the west side of the state, and I was young. I was probably the youngest head football coach in the state of Michigan at the time. And I was the head coach there, and in 5 years, we won 2 games. Now, they were back-to-back, all right? They were back-to-back, but we won 2 games. We went 2-43. That's the definition of a rough start to your coaching career, all right? So after 5 years, that school district came to me and gave me my walking papers. Why they waited 5 years, I don't have any idea. We once were the proud owners of the longest losing streak in the state of Michigan at that time. We lost 33 consecutive football games. Can you imagine that? 33 games in a row. And when I left there, I had a pretty good notion that I was never going to be coach again. Okay, I had blown that opportunity. And it's exactly, I remember talking to my wife, and we were young in our marriage, young in our careers. She was a teacher, and I'm a teacher and a coach, and we're just getting started in our careers. And I remember talking to her about the adversity that we're facing, and how difficult it was, because we were losing football games. Well, unfortunately, we didn't have any idea what adversity was to come later in our lives. All right. So when they let me go, I got an opportunity. I got an amazing opportunity. I got an opportunity to go back to the high school that I graduated from. I got a chance to go back and learn under the head coach, Jim Ahern, who was a Michigan high school legend. And I got a chance to go back and learn from him for 9 years before I got the opportunity to become the head football coach at the school I graduated from. And you know what happened the second time? Just the opposite. We had tremendous success. We had a 69-game winning streak. We went 98-2 in a 100-game span. Greatest ever in Michigan high school 11-man football. We played in the state championship 7 times in 8 years. Okay, why am I telling you all this? Am I telling you all this to pat myself on the back and brag? No, because at this stage in my career, I certainly don't need that. What I'm telling you this for is the B4 Foundation feels very strongly about the 2 things that I just talked about, that you are guaranteed going to experience in your life. And you already have, most of you, experienced the first one, adversity. You're going to face adversity in life. You wouldn't be here sitting in this room right now if you hadn't already had the ability to overcome adversity. But the second thing that's guaranteed that's going to happen to you in your life is opportunity. You're going to have unbelievable opportunities once you leave this campus. You have unbelievable opportunities now, but once you leave this campus, those opportunities are going to continue to be offered to you. And here's the deal. My wife and I, with what happened to us in our family, we can lay down on the floor, curl up and ball, and cry like a baby. Not ashamed to tell you that we do that on a regular basis. But is that going to help anybody? Is that going to help me? Is that going to help Christy, my wife? Is that going to bring our son Brady back? The answer to all those questions is absolutely not. So we get up off the floor, we say, you know what we have? We have an opportunity. We have the absolute worst possible tragedy a family could endure, and we're going to turn it into an opportunity to possibly help someone that needs the help, so that that family does not have to go through the absolute hell that my family and I are currently living. Adversity and opportunity. We're a firm believer in the B4 Foundation. How you react to what happens to you. How you react to what happens to you is going to determine your level of success, at least to some degree. Okay? How you react. So, with that adversity and that opportunity, we're going to take that and turn it into a major opportunity to help other people. We have a routine. My wife and I have a routine. We go to Meijer every Sunday to get our groceries. Okay, every Sunday. When other people have the same routine that go to Meijer. So we're in Meijer, and I'm pushing my cart along in Meijer, and an elderly couple walks up to me in Meijer. And, you know, I only know them because I see them every Sunday. Other than that, I don't know them. And the guy walks up, and he puts his hand right on my shoulder, which is awkward when you're in Meijer. You don't expect people to touch you, especially people you don't know, right? And he puts his hand on my shoulder, and he says, Terry, God is using you to share Brady's story to help other people. Wow. Is that true? I don't know. I don't have any idea. I can't take the chance that it is and not do anything. So that's why we're here today. Because if that truly is God's plan for our family to do this, then by golly, we can't drop the ball. And now I want to tell you about this guy. This is a guy that's up here on the screen. That's what I'm here for, and that's what you're here to learn about, is our son Brady. He grew up in our football program at Ithaca High School. He was a staple at our practices. He attended practices and games from the time he could walk and run and go do all those things. And he was the guy that it was at practice when Dad was the coach that would run through the cones and jump over the bags. And he had a football all the time. He'd play catch with anybody that would play catch with him. And so everybody knew Brady. He was on our sidelines all the time. Well, in 2010, Ithaca High School makes our first ever trip to Ford Field for the state championship game. Okay, first time ever. We don't have any idea how this works at Ford Field. We had never been there. So we get down to Ford Field in 2010. And just so you're aware, I'm going to use a timeline to walk you through the story today. So in 2010, we're at Ford Field. There's 2 minutes to go in the game, state championship game. Very close game. And my wife, Christy, is seated at the 50-yard line with our daughter, Kelsey, and our son, Brady. With 2 minutes to go, Brady pulls on mom's jacket and says, I got to go to the bathroom. Well, my wife is a football girl. She's probably watched more football games than I have watched in my lifetime, okay? So she says, Brady, I'm not leaving. You're a smart kid. Run up the steps and go to the bathroom. Come back down the steps. He's a smart kid. He's 8 years old. He can do this. So the way Brady runs, he runs up the steps and he goes to the bathroom and he comes back and he gets to the aisle to go down and the usher stops him cold in his tracks. Says, you can't go down there, son. We have a policy here at Ford Field. You can just imagine this, a grown adult usher explaining this to this 8-year-old little pistol dodging all over Ford Field's, the arena there. So the policy is this. The game that is going on, when it ends, those spectators are allowed to exit up the steps. If you're here to watch the next game, you have to go to the end zone, work your way down to the front row, and fill in so we don't have total chaos of people trying to go up the steps and down the steps. I completely understand the policy, and I think you do as well, right? So Brady's 8 years old. What does he do? He runs to the end zone. He runs to the end zone, down the steps, back to the front row, Mom and Kelsey, except the game had ended. And Mom and Kelsey had exited up the steps like they've been instructed to do. So for a brief moment, at 8 years old, our son Brady is lost at Ford Field. What does he look like? Well, he's this big, and he's got on an Ithaca football t-shirt. Well, every kid in Ithaca had on an Ithaca football t-shirt. It was our first ever trip to Ford Field, right? So we find Brady, and everything is perfectly fine. Everything goes well. And about 3 weeks pass, and I go to my wife, Christy, and I say these words to her, and I say them to her jokingly, all right? You know, if you can't keep track of our son, and I said this jokingly to her because she is an amazing wife and an unbelievable mother to our children. And I said, maybe Brady should be our manager. If we ever get to Ford Field again, Brady can ride the bus with us. He can be on the sideline with me. If we win, he can be in the team picture. So my wife's response is, you want him? You got him. You think you can coach a football game and keep track of this kid on your sideline? She goes, you go right ahead. So Brady's managerial career begins in 2011. And you guys know how this works. You don't start at the top. You don't start at the top, okay? No matter what it is you're doing. His managerial career, he's at the bottom of the ladder, the lowest rung on the ladder. And I explained to him in 2011, you're the manager. You're the manager. You have 2 black med kits that are older than I am, probably haven't been opened since the day I played. All right, your responsibility is to get those 2 med kits to our sideline every day. Got tape in them, cold wraps, nose plugs, whatever, free wrap, whatever it might be. All right, and it's a great year. We go undefeated, back-to-back state champions. Brady comes to me in 2012 and he says, Dad, you know, you talk about that ladder. I want to move up. I want to move up that ladder. Okay. The next step on the ladder, water boy. You're moving up. You're a manager. Now you're the water boy. Water boy in a varsity football sideline, high school, great gig. You can squirt your buddies, you know, that aren't on the field with you. You get them all wet in the stands. You can get the good players water when they need it. You get the officials water. You keep everybody hydrated. Great experiences. We go 14-0, back-to-back state champions. Tremendous memories. In 2013, he said, Dad, I've been manager and I've been water boy. What's next? And I said, well, the next rung on the ladder is the absolute pinnacle of the managerial ladder. So in 2013, what do you think that is? Ball boy. We run the spread offense. We got 4 footballs. Keep them dry. He wants to be a quarterback someday. He's playing catch, throwing the football on the track, on the sideline to every single person that'll possibly, and some people he shouldn't be playing catch with probably. Great experience. 4th straight 14-0 season, state championships. 2014, we lose in the state finals. Okay, we lose in the state finals. And we're at a banquet. My wife and I are at a banquet, ironically, after we lost. And people seated with us. Jeff and Sally Olson. Jeff and Sally Olson from Ishpeming, Michigan. Jeff's a Hall of Fame football coach from Ishpeming up in the Upper Peninsula. Jeff sits down at a table, he and Sally. You ever wonder why you meet people? Have you ever wondered why do people come into your lives and leave, right? Well, in 2014, we meet Jeff Olson. Jeff sits down at our table and starts telling us about his son Daniel, who was an all-state quarterback for him at Ishpeming High School, and how in 2012 he had taken his own life. In 2012, Daniel had taken his own life. And Jeff is going around, ironically, just like I'm doing now, sharing Daniel's story. If you haven't heard of it, please look it up. Not right now, but look it up. Do it for Daniel. It's an unbelievable story. It's such an unbelievable story that Disney is considering doing a movie about Daniel's life. Okay, it's that unbelievable. So I'm Ithaca Football, right? I represent Ithaca Football. We donate right away. We were the first people to donate to the Do It for Daniel Foundation. We want to be in on the ground floor. I'm going to come back to Jeff and Sally a little bit later. 2015, back on the sideline. Brady's back on our sideline. He's our ball boy. We get a chance. We win another state championship. 2016, we got beat in the regional finals, unfortunately, and his managerial career comes to an end. Now he's going to be a player. So in 2017, Brady's a freshman. We had a couple injuries in our defensive backfield. We don't normally do this, but we had a freshman that had to start for us on our varsity, and it's Brady. We have a great season. We get to the Ford Field again, and unfortunately, we got beat. Finished 13-1. And when that season ended on Thanksgiving weekend, I called Jeff Olson up in Ishpeming. I said, Jeff, are you still traveling around sharing Daniel's story? He goes, yeah, I still do. I said, would you come to Ithaca High School and share Daniel's story with our student body? Absolutely, is his response. Jeff jumps in the car, drives the 6 hours or whatever it is from Ishpeming to Ithaca, right? And he comes in and he starts talking about his son Daniel. Our entire student body. Brady's a freshman seated out there in the audience. And he's talking about Daniel taking his own life in 2012. And Brady leans over to the girl seated next to him, who's also a freshman, and says these words, I'm Daniel. He said, I'm Daniel, to this girl. What if, just for a moment, let's get away from the timeline. What if that girl, that day in 2017, would have came to me, would have came to my office and said, Mr. Hesbrook, Brady just said something that scares me, alarms me, frightens me, is weird, whatever. Well, what did he say? And she tells me that he referenced himself as he's Daniel. What do? I drop everything I'm doing. I walk my son right over to the counseling office. You need to meet with this kid. Something's going on. Right? Isn't that what you would do as a parent? Parents in the room? That's what you do, right? And this is one of two things is going to happen. Counselor is going to come back and say, you know what, Terry? Brady just wanted to get out of class. He was just screwing around. We'll kick his butt back to class and let's move on. That's the best case scenario. What if she would have came over and said, Terry, your son Brady's struggling. He's struggling with anxiety. He's struggling with depression. He's struggling with poor mental health. And we're going to need to get him some help. What do? I drop everything I'm doing either way. I'm going to get my son the best help there is available on this planet, just like any parent would do for their son or their daughter. That girl that day, did she have to tell me? Did she have to come to me as the assistant principal and the athletic director? I'm a big, scary guy. I do deal with discipline issues, all that type of stuff. Did she have to come and tell me that day? No. Could she have told the softball coach, the volleyball coach, baseball coach, English teacher, the counselor, the principal, the band instructor? She could have told anybody in 2017 what Brady had said. And you know what? I'm a firm believer that had she done that in 2017, that my son Brady is standing next to me on this stage this afternoon, and we're sharing a success story with you rather than a story we have to share. Did she have to be courageous to do that? Yes. Did she have to be unbelievably brave to come and tell somebody? Yes. Was Brady going to get mad at her? Yes. The answers to all of those are yes. Was he going to stay mad? No, because he was a really nice young man. Was he going to be mad for 5 minutes? Probably. 5 days? Not likely. 5 weeks? Not a chance. 5 months? No way. He just wasn't that type of person. She had to tell one person. I'm going to come back to her. Awesome. Have you heard this term, and just show of hands, it is okay to not be okay? Every hand in the room, I believe. So that's great. The B4 Foundation feels strongly about this. It is okay to not be okay, but tell someone you're not okay. That's all we want you to do. I'm really struggling with my volleyball coach. She's on my back all the time. I'm really struggling with math. I'm really struggling with English. I'm really struggling with my religion, with my faith, with my relationship, whatever it is. Just tell somebody that you're struggling so that they can get you some help if you need it. That's all we want you to do from the B4 Foundation. We'll talk more about that as well. Back to my timeline. 2018, Brady's a sophomore at Ithaca High School. He gets a starting job. We've had an all-state caliber quarterback from 1998 to 2025. Think of it. That's an unbelievable stretch of quarterback. Brady gets his shot. He's a sophomore. We're playing over at New Bell Catholic Central in Saginaw. He runs a play. He's probably ran for me 1,000 times in his life. And down he goes. As close as you guys are to me right now. Brady, get up. We're going to hurry up offense. Let's go. I can't get up. Get up. He tore his ACL. Football season was done. Basketball season was done. Any hopes of a spring sport were done. Surgery, rehab. We live in the middle of nowhere. Okay? Ithaca's, we like to say it's an hour from everything. All right? Well, we found out that the person that was in charge of the rehab for his knee was 40-minute drive one way. As an athletic director, you know the schedule of a high school athletic director. We spent a lot of times at night driving to Lansing to get him to rehab, to get him healthy, so that we could get him ready for the next season. 2019 comes, and Brady has rehabbed that knee every day, and he's worn that brace every day. And we're getting ready. We're going to play our first game at Elma College for some reason. I can't remember why, but we're going to play our first game. So we're at home. It's in August, and coaches always have a bag, right? They always have a bag. I don't know what we keep in there, but we keep everything in there, I guess. And I'm stuffing my bag, and Brady's upstairs in his bedroom, and his knee brace that he's worn every single day since surgery comes flying over the railing and lands on the living room floor. It's like, Brady, what are you doing? What are you doing? We're getting ready to go. He said, Dad, that's a constant reminder that I'm injured. Doctor said that knee's better than this knee. So why do I got to wear it? Like, yeah, you're right. Let's go. And away we go. We're off and rolling his junior season. We're having a great year. Small school, got to play on both sides of the ball. He's playing defense for us. We're in Midland against Bullet Creek High School, and he dives for an interception. And he landed right on his shoulder. And he separated his AC joint in his shoulder, in his throwing shoulder. Okay? Separation of an AC joint. There's 5 stages I was unaware of a separation of an AC joint. Extremely painful injury. 1 and 2 don't require surgery. 4 and 5 require surgery. Guess what Brady is? He's a 3. He's a 3. So, Doc, can he play or can he play? And the doc tells us probably the worst thing he could have told us. Terry, if he can stand the pain, he can play. You know what that meant? That was a green light. That was a green light for me as a father, as the coach. He's going to play. He's one of the toughest kids I ever coached. He's going to play. That's that simple. We won't tell anybody. He didn't practice all week. He couldn't raise his arm. Couldn't do anything. And then he'd go out and run. And he'd throw the football kind of sideways. We didn't tell him. He plays the entire rest of his junior season with a separated shoulder. And to play, let me tell you some of the things we put our son through. You ever heard of dry needling? Some of you guys are nodding your heads. You've been injured before, right? Suction cups that leave those big suction cup marks on your. Okay? And I'm ashamed to admit this to you as a father, the head coach, and the athletic director. He had 2 cortisone shots during his junior season so he could play. It meant that much to us. He had to be on the field. We had our priorities all mixed up. We had this football thing way up here and how important it really was. And it should have been down here in line with some of the other things. And other things should have been placed up a little bit higher. 2020 comes, knee is healthy, shoulder is healthy, he's rehabbed like crazy. What happens in 2020? COVID. You got to be kidding. The MHSA shut us down, started us back up, shut us down. We didn't know if we were coming or going. Regular season, if you play all the way to the state finals, is Thanksgiving weekend, right? We're practicing Christmas Eve. We're practicing New Year's Eve. We finished our season, unfortunately, in the middle of January in the regional finals. And Brady's career came to an end. He was a 4-year varsity starter. He was the team captain. He was the Michigan High School Division 7 and 8, which is small schools, Player of the Year. He threw 30 touchdown passes, and I believe it says 11 games, but we only played 8 because of the forfeits from COVID. And he led the entire state of Michigan in touchdown passes, regardless of size. So what did he get for this opportunity? A dream come true. Wayne State University comes calling and wants Brady to play quarterback. Thank you. Thank you. Our prayers have been answered, and we get Brady. He's on scholarship. He's going to Wayne State University. And so the moment that he announced that he's going to commit to Wayne State University, I went into my superintendent, and I said, I'm done coaching football at Ithaca High School. He's like, what do you mean? You got a good thing going here. I said, my son's going to play in college, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go watch him. I'm going to be a dad. I'm going to tailgate, and I'm going to sit in the stands, and I'm going to yell at the coaches, and I'm going to yell at the officials, just like everybody has done for the last 32 years, and I missed out on. That's what we're going to do. And you know what? That's what we did. His freshman year, he was redshirted. Are you familiar with what redshirting means? That really, really is difficult, okay? But we knew what we had signed up for, so he's redshirted. And so we would travel every Saturday down to Detroit, that they were home, to watch them. We would tailgate, and then all the freshman parents would walk in together, and none of our kids were playing, right? They're all getting redshirted. So we would go in and watch warm-ups and get pictures, you know, your kids out there on the field and all that stuff. And then when the game started, we go back in the parking lot and tailgate more. You know, just had a great experience. Well, when his season came to an end, in Division II, they have spring football. Okay, so they have spring ball. So there's a scrimmage coming up. Christy and I are going to drive down and watch a scrimmage. And we're in a car, and we're on the way down, and we're just about to the city of Detroit, and the phone in the car rings. What's up? It's Brady. Dad, can you meet me over at Henry Ford Hospital? Yeah, I can. What did you do? He separated his AC joint in his shoulder again. And so his season, his freshman season, had truly come to an end. And unfortunately, he had suffered 3 major injuries in a very short period of time. And those injuries played a much larger role in his mental health than any of us were aware. He was home after his freshman season. And you know, your dad, and I'm a coach, and I've been around him for a long, long time. And I'm watching him in the summer, and he's missing a workout here and there. And that wasn't like him, to miss a workout. And so it kind of raised some eyebrows. And he came to me. He said, Dad, I'm going back to Wayne State. And I said, yeah, you're right, you are. And he says, I'm not going to play football this year. I said, what do you mean? You're on scholarship. He said, I have to get my shoulder fixed. My shoulder is not right. And I remember that day. He took his shirt off right there in the kitchen and showed me his shoulder. And it did look a little bit deformed, to be honest with you. I said, you're right, son. We got to get that fixed. So I was so proud of him that he had made a major adult decision to go back to Wayne State. He goes, I want to get my degree from Wayne State, and I want to get my shoulder healthy so that possibly I can go back if I need to. And it was such an adult decision. I was so proud of him. He wasn't healthy, wanted to get therapy, but he was hiding something inside that he was keeping from the people that knew him best, his mom and dad, his girlfriend, Allie, who he spent endless amount of time, who I truly believe was a soulmate of Brady's for 4+ years. He wore a mask to hide his pain. He was suffering from anxiety. He was suffering from depression, poor mental health, and he wasn't telling anybody. He wasn't letting anybody know. First time I did a presentation at Alma College football, I said, I got to do a little research on this. And so I started looking into it. And you know that 1 in 4 teenagers have had serious thoughts about suicide? That scares me to no end. If you think back to your high school days, your entire sophomore class, your entire junior class, those would all represent 1 in 4, right? That's an unbelievably large number. I found out that suicide's the number 2 leading cause of death among among kids from 10 to 24 years old, second only to accidental death. This kid that I'm putting these pictures up, he wasn't the perfect kid. I'm not here to lie to you and tell you that he was, he gave mom and dad a run for the money just like I did, I'm sure, just like you did, probably just like the adults did to their parents. I think that's what we're supposed to do a little bit. And but he certainly, when you look at those pictures, is that really what depression looks like? Is that really what somebody who suffers from anxiety and poor mental health looks like? And unfortunately for us and our family, yes. And we didn't know. We didn't know. I want to paint you a picture. I know you can't do this, but let's pretend that in 2020 we can look inside the walls of Ithaca High School. And what would you see? You'd see Brady Hesbrook. He's got a college scholarship. He's got a beautiful girlfriend. He's got friends. He has a job. He has a car. He has a phone. He has a family. He has sister, mom and dad, cousins, aunts and uncles, grandma and grandpa, the whole tree, the whole family. And everybody loved Brady. Everybody loved him. He had a smile that could light up the room. He had faith in God. He read the Bible on a regular basis. He had a future. He was a role model among his peers. But poor mental health, anxiety, and depression are real. And they're a disease, and they don't discriminate. They don't care what you have or what you don't have. It would appear that this young man had everything you would ever want in life, except for he suffered from poor mental health. If this can happen to Brady Hesbrook, it can happen to anybody. I'm convinced he's the most normal kid you would have ever met in your entire life. It can happen to anyone. But he wasn't above mental illness, and he wasn't above depression, and he certainly wasn't above anxiety. He struggled with those three things for 6 years. 6 years he struggled and didn't tell anyone. 6 years he struggled with pain and suffering from anxiety and depression and poor mental health. Do you know how we know that puzzle piece? Let's go back to 2017 when Brady was a freshman and he said, "I'm Daniel," to that young girl, that freshman seated next to him. 3 weeks after Brady's funeral, there's a knock at our door on our home. I go to the door and say, "Hey, what's going on?" She's a student at Ithaca. She was a student, excuse me. "Come on in." She goes, "Terry, I got to talk to you and Christy." So we went in and we sat down on our couch. She goes, "You remember when you had Jeff come down, that guy from the UP?" Yeah, I remember. Brady said, "I'm Daniel." God, how I wish she would have been strong enough to come and tell us years earlier. Can you imagine how much strength it took for her to come to our home alone, walk up that sidewalk, knock on that door? 6 years and 3 weeks, too late for us in our situation with our son. But can you imagine? And we're so proud of her. And our family often does just the opposite of what you probably maybe think or should do. That's just the way we were wired, I guess. A lot of people would do what? Would be mad at her, would shun her, would hate her. And our family does just the opposite. We accepted her, and we appreciated her because she provided us with a puzzle piece we didn't know. We didn't know any timeline of how long our son had struggled, unfortunately. And she was able to fill in that piece for us. Brady's grandma is one of the nicest people, if not the nicest person on the planet. No offense to anybody in the room. Okay, my mother-in-law is an amazing, amazing lady. She really is. And she called. They live about 30 minutes from where we live. And she wanted to come over and pick up her daughter and get a coffee and go and talk. And Christy and I, we hadn't left the home in weeks, maybe months. I don't. It's such a blur. I don't know when last time we left. But she came over and she picked up Christy. And they got in a car and they were driving around. They went I said, "This is good." My wife has taught kindergarten for 33 years. So she has patience that God gave a saint. She's put up with me and all of my antics, not to mention Kelsey, not to mention Brady, not to mention, kindergartners. Can you imagine that? So she comes home from this coffee with her mom, and she's as mad as I've ever seen her in my entire life. I said, "What happened? What could possibly?" She goes, "My mom said this to me today." She goes, "We're driving along," and she starts banging on the dashboard with her fist. She goes, "I'm so mad at Brady. I'm so mad at Brady for doing this to us. I'm so mad at Brady for doing this to you and our family and the Ithaca community." Like, "What did you say?" She goes, "I looked my mom as close as you can in the eye when you're driving, right? I says, 'Mom, I want you to answer this question. If Brady died from cancer, would you be mad at him?'" That's a good question. She goes, "Mom, I want to know. If Brady died from cancer, would you be mad at him?" And in a typical older person's perspective is what? Cancer is a disease. Right? I mean, innocently enough, that's what she thinks. Unfortunately, so is depression. So is anxiety. So is poor mental health. And we need to get people to understand that. And we have to treat that like a medical disease. We'd have done anything to help our son just like anybody. Back to my timeline, 2022. Christmas, best memories ever. Thank God for. It was amazing. The whole family was home. We had gifts and laughter and food and drink and maybe more of all that than we probably should have. 3 days later, Brady came to me and he said, Dad, I got to get back to Wayne State on December 28th. I said, all right, son. And he came in the kitchen, and Brady was a really strong kid. He had big hands and really strong. And he hugged me. And I'm a big guy. All right, I'm a big guy. I get it. He hugged me, and he hugged me so tight, he picked me right up off the ground in the kitchen. And father and son, sometimes you say things to each other back and forth that can't be repeated in public, right? And we probably exchanged a few of those things, and he put me down. And he walked out. I didn't know that was the last hug I was ever going to get from my son. And I certainly didn't have any idea that was the last time that I would see my son Brady alive. On January 27th, we have a snowstorm hit the city of Ithaca. In our small rural schools, we delay the start of school so we can plow roads and get people to school safely, right? So we're at home. Christy and I both work for the school, so we're at home. It was around 9:30, and I started texting Brady. I said, how you doing, buddy? He's in Detroit at Wayne State. He said, Dad, I had physical therapy this morning. Guy's amazing. My shoulder's feeling better. Okay. We made small talk about his cat. When you go to college, as you know, you can't take your cat with you. This cat we've had for like 15 or 18 years. I don't know how long it's been. But you can't take, he's like 23 pounds. He's more like a mountain lion than a cat. And we don't turn our back on him very often. But we made small talk back and forth about his cat. And we signed off. And Christy come out of the bedroom. She's like, Terry, this is the greatest Friday ever. Like, it is? Why is that? She goes, it's payday. We only got to work a half a day. And we had some plans that weekend on Saturday to do with some friends to do some things. Like, yeah. So away we go. We go to school. Then at 3:30, I was in my office and the phone rings. Christy was getting home from school that day. And she was pulling into the driveway and putting the garage door up. And she called me. She goes, Terry, she goes, Brady's car's in the garage. Christy, it is the greatest Friday ever. He came home to surprise us. That's unbelievable. I said, we got an away game tonight. I'm not planning on going. I said, I'll be home in just a little bit. And 2 minutes passed. And in that 2 minutes, the phone rang again. And I immediately started thinking, he drove right past my office. He drove 2 hours home from the city of Detroit in a snowstorm, right past my office, within 100 yards of my office. He parked the car in the garage. He didn't have a garage door opener, or in the driveway, didn't have a garage door opener. He had to walk around the back of the house and get the key. Knee-deep snow. Come back, open the garage, pull his car in, close the... Doesn't sound like Brady. In that 2 minutes, Christy called back at 3:32. And she said, Terry, you got to get home. And unfortunately for me, I will never forget the horror in her voice. I knew something was seriously wrong. I ran out of the office, didn't grab a coat, didn't grab nothing. I knew something was seriously wrong. When I got home, Christy met me at the door, and I said, where's Brady? She goes, he's in the basement. I went in the basement, and I didn't get any response. So I bust the door off the hinges in the bathroom. Our son Brady, at the age of 20 years old, had made the terrible, terrible decision to take his own life in the basement of our home. The day that will haunt us for the rest of our lives. January 27th, it was just a few days ago. Our son was ill, and he suffered from a brain disease. But he didn't know help was available to him. He didn't know. How can that be? He went through the elementary school with his mom. He went to the junior high with me. He's been with me in the high school. And all across all of our buildings in Ithaca Public Schools, we have signs that say what? 988 Suicide Prevention Hotline. It's okay to say. It's okay to not be okay. He walked by those posters 1,000 times, maybe more. How could he not know there was help available? I vowed the day that we buried him that if I ever speak to anybody, and I want you to understand this and understand it clearly, and it will make my drive down here worth it. There is help available to each and every one of you. Did you hear that clearly? There is help available to you. There's help in this room that's available to you. And if you need help, you got to ask for it. I wish you just had a flashing light on your head that would go off and we could know you're struggling and then we could call you in. But that doesn't work that way. There's help available to you, but you must ask for it. Because we can't tell. I started when I said you don't know what he's going through. He doesn't know what you're going through, and so on around the room. Please understand, if you don't get anything out of what I've had to say today, Please get that. Do you know that almost 50,000 people died in the United States from suicide last year? 50,000 people? That's unacceptable. To me, it's unacceptable, and that's one of the reasons we're trying to do what we're trying to do. The day that Brady passed, I was asked the strangest question that I've ever been asked in my life. As you can imagine, when news travels fast in a small town, and I have 3 brothers that live in town, other family, friends, co-workers, teammates, Brady's classmate, everybody begins showing up at our house. 2 people that came to our home that day were the father, Eddie, from the Catholic Church, and the undersheriff from Gratiot County, which is the county that we live in. And we went, it's been several hours, and we went into our bedroom. They said, we have to ask you some questions. I said, I understand there's an investigation that has to be done. And they asked me the strangest question I've ever been asked to this day, still to this day, to this moment. And here's what it was. Terry and Christy, are you going to tell people what happened to your son Brady? And I turned and I looked at my wife, and I had to be as confused as I've ever been in my life. And I looked back at these 2 guys who were standing in our bedroom, the 4 of us, who just asked me that question, and they repeated the question. Are you going to tell people what happened to your son Brady? Yes. The answer to your question is yes. I'm going to tell every single person that I can get to listen to me what happened to our son Brady, in hopes that we can get them some help. Our son didn't get the help he desperately needed. And it gets worse. They stepped forward and they put their hand out and they said, we need to caution you. I just lost my 20-year-old son. What do you got? What are you going to caution me about? If you tell people that your son died from suicide, do you understand the shame, the embarrassment, and the stigma that's attached to the term suicide? And if you tell people that your son died from suicide, you're going to have to endure that. And now I turn and I look at my wife, and now I'm really confused. I'm a little pissed, to be honest with you. All right? I look back at these 2 people who are standing in my bedroom, who I truly admire and respect, and are tremendous human beings. They really are good people. And I looked at them both in the eye, and I said, that is the whole problem right there. That's the problem. Brady Hesbrook and so many others won't come forward because they're afraid of what it was going to look like for Dad, who works at the school, who's a football coach, right? Or maybe for Mom, who works at the elementary with all those kindergarten students. Or Allie's parents are on the school board in her district. Can you imagine, and I say this with sarcasm, having to explain to somebody that your daughter dates somebody that has to have a counselor? And I say that again with sarcasm. I think people are beginning to realize that mental health, anxiety, and depression are real and are a medical disease, and that we treat them that way. He suffered from depression. He stopped doing things he loved to do, and it should have been a red flag to us. One of the things he absolutely loved to do was fish. He loved to go fishing. We live in a rural community, lots of ponds and lakes around, and he would go often fishing. He knew more about fishing than I did. He taught me how to fish. And it's supposed to be the other way around, right? The dad is supposed to teach the son or the daughter how to fish. Well, it didn't work that way in our family because Brady probably watched more fishing videos than he did football videos, all right? And that's how passionate he was about it. And we had purchased a small boat on the side of the road, and you could pick it up and throw it in the back of my old truck. And we'd go fishing all the time. That summer before he went back to Wayne State his sophomore year, Brady, let's go fishing tomorrow. No, I can't. Brady, let's go fishing tomorrow night. No, I can't. He had a reason, an excuse. You know how many times we went fishing that summer? 0. Not one time. The boat, I don't know if it's left my garage since, to be honest with you. Just sits there. And the other thing that he had given up, and it should have been like a 2x4 to the back of my head, was what? What didn't he have? Football. He didn't have football in his life anymore. And I think that meant much more to his mental health than any of us are aware. From the moment I started talking to you guys, I described him to you as Brady Hesbrook, the football player. He was a little guy running through the cones and the bags, and then as a freshman, and then as a sophomore, and then blah, 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 all that stuff, right? Well, you know what? That isn't fair to Brady. Because he's a lot better person than he was a football player. And I want most of you guys in this room are athletes, correct? Let me explain something to you that we didn't understand, and maybe you guys will. If you play football, that's great, but that does not define who you are. It's something you do. You guys all play baseball. That doesn't define who you are. I think it's great that you play baseball. But you play baseball because you're good at it, because your friends play, because they're paying for your school, because whatever it might be, because your dad was the coach. I don't know. Your dad played in college, or your mom played in college. It doesn't define who you are. And we lost perspective in our family and our friends. He was Brady Hesbrook, the football player. No, he wasn't. He was Brady Hesbrook, the human being, and the person, first and foremost. And I'll tell you what, he was a great human being. He was a fantastic young man. A lot better person than he ever was at football. So understand that when you guys think about it. If you play volleyball, that's great. But it doesn't define who you are. That's something you do. I want everybody in this room to please understand that. It was a part of his life, and it was no longer a part of his life, and it meant much more. I told you I'd talk about my shirt. Brady's girlfriend, Allie, okay, you got to follow this with me, okay? Her brother, Caleb, is a University of Michigan graduate. He does graphic design for their football teams and their basketball teams. He's got an amazing, it's his dream job. Caleb was with our family, and I said, Caleb, we're going to start a foundation, and we're going to call it the B4 Foundation. A lot of people called Brady B. When he was little B. When he grew up, he was Big B. That's just what we called him around the house and around town, right? And he wore jersey number 4 his junior and senior year of high school. And so therefore, we have the B4 Foundation. And I said, Caleb, I need a logo. So Caleb went home, and the next day, he came back with this logo that you see on my shirt. And they're on some of the shirts that you have. And the guy in the yellow, that's Brady. That's his senior year. He's walking on the railroad tracks, tossing a football in the air as he walks away from us. Caleb, with that design, if you notice in the football, every football you've ever seen has laces so you can grip it and hang on to it, right? That football doesn't have laces in it. That football has a semicolon in it. You guys know what a semicolon means? Slide already been up there? All right, it's already been up there. All right. But you want your story to continue. You want your sentence to continue. Brilliant design move by Caleb. And then he put a cross in the letter D. I think it's in the letter D. Yeah, the letter D. Okay? To signify Brady's strong faith in God. And so we printed a few shirts, and it became a really big hit. And now we have thousands and thousands and thousands of these shirts that have been sold and that are out there across the country. And it's become a thing, which I think you just saw a minute ago on a slide. People snap pictures wearing their shirt, and they send them to me. We're sharing Brady's story in Nome, Alaska, I believe that one picture was, in Belize, in Aruba, at the Super Bowl, at the NFL draft. We get Paris. I mean, all over the world, we've received pictures where people are wearing these shirts. And I think it's fantastic that we're continuing to get Brady's story out there. The B4 Foundation wants to get people talking about mental illness, about depression. There's help available, but you have to talk to someone about it. You guys all know who J.J. McCarthy is? Former University of Michigan quarterback, right? I'm not a big fan of J.J. McCarthy. I'm going to give you a heads up right up front, all right? J.J. McCarthy. Now, I'm going to compare Brady to J.J. McCarthy. I'm not crazy. I don't think my son was an NFL quarterback, okay? I'm not saying that. But let's just take a look at this. J.J. McCarthy was getting ready to play the semifinal game at Michigan in his final year there in Ann Arbor. And he announced to the world that J.J. McCarthy suffered from anxiety. Did anybody catch that? J.J. McCarthy, you play in front of 110,000 people, J.J. You play in front of millions of people on TV, and you have anxiety? And if you've ever watched J.J. McCarthy, what does he do during warm-ups? He sits underneath the goalpost with his legs crossed. Anybody ever notice that? Did anybody? Some people are nodding, okay. I did too. And I thought, what a punk. That J.J. McCarthy's a punk. He just wants attention. What is wrong with that kid? Well, shame on me. All right, shame on me. You know what I found out was this. J.J. McCarthy recognized he had a problem. He reached out. He got help. You know what he's doing underneath that goalpost? He's meditating. He uses meditation, not medication. Okay? He's using meditation to overcome his anxiety to play at a high level. I'm assuming he's continuing to do that in the NFL as well. And then you know who will root for J.J. McCarthy now from now on? Except for when they play our Lions. I can't do that. All right, won't cross that line. But I will root for J.J. from now on because it's a great story. Brady Hesbrook, on this other hand, let's take a look at Brady. Brady didn't recognize he had a problem. Didn't reach out to anybody other than the one time that he said, I'm Daniel. He didn't get the help that he needed. He's no longer here. That's the comparison I wanted to make between JJ, who reached out, talked to somebody about it, and got the help he needed, and our son Brady, who did not. So we decided that we're going to talk to as many people as we can. Today is the 117th presentation that I have done personally for the B4 Foundation. Over 34,000 students have heard Brady's story. In our small little community, we have 3,000 people that live in the city of Ithaca, and that's every man, woman, and child, regardless of age. It's 3,000. It's been that way for like 75 years. Okay. Well, on social media, we're approaching 10,000 followers, and so that means that people like you are getting out there and finding us, whether it's on Facebook or on X or on Instagram, and beginning to follow us. And I think it's great that we're able to share Brady's story. Why is the B4 Foundation so popular? Why do I have requests to go? I was telling somebody earlier that I could go twice a week, maybe 3 times a week, and do a presentation across the state of Michigan. And my job doesn't allow that, all right? But I certainly could. Why? Our board of directors feels this. You can relate to Brady. He's just like you. Or he's just like you. Or he's just like you. He's juggling all the same things that you have to juggle. College, academics, athletics, relationships, religion, whatever it might be, jobs, all those things, family, and it's a difficult juggle. There's no doubt about that. I plan to make every presentation that I possibly can to share our son Brady's story. If we can help someone, then we have to help someone. The response that I get after a presentation is unbelievable. After every presentation we've done, almost every one of them, somebody reaches out and said, I needed that story today. I'm struggling. And it's been an amazing. So we continue to do that. And you guys have all heard this before. The world's a better place with you here in it. And you just have to trust me. There's that trust word again. Your life can always take a different path. That's a quote that my wife, Christy, found. And she wanted me to add it to the presentation. She goes, your life can always take a different path. Think about that. Your life can always take a different path. And she said, this is our son Brady. And this is difficult to read, but I'm going to read it to you. I came to realize I didn't want to die. I just wanted my life as I knew it to end. She said, that's Brady. If someone tells you they're struggling, if they mention to you, hey, I'm really struggling, please tell someone. Get a hold of a coach, a counselor, the athletic director, their parents. Please tell someone. Don't do nothing, because it's our experience that they're telling you that they need help or that they're struggling for one reason and one reason only. They want you to help them. They need you to help them. So please take it seriously. If somebody tells you, let somebody know. Let the adults in this room on this campus know that someone is, struggling. Or somebody says, I'm Daniel. Let them know. Because how different could it be for all of us had somebody done that way back then? It's ironic that who wears the mask now? We do. Now we put the mask on and we go to work and we pretend that things that we're doing at work are important. Our lives will never be the same. Never. We have an unbelievable hole in our heart that will never be filled. We mourn the future as much as we mourn the past and the present. There will be no engagement pictures with Allie. There will be no wedding pictures with Allie. There will be no grandchildren from Brady and Allie. It's that big a hole. Our lives will never be the same. They'll never be whole again. But we do it every day to hide our pain and to get up and fight for our son and for those that are also like Brady. 2 examples of the type of person Brady was. Senior year, in our building, we have grades 7 through 12, and we have different wings that go in different directions. And there's a 7th grade girl who's lost in our building. And our son Brady got a hold of her, got her to the class where she needed to be. And there's a sense of, again, pride that came over me when I heard this story. And the mother shared that story with me at Brady's funeral, unfortunately. And the other story I want to share with you about the type of person is he was no longer a member of Wayne State's football team. Yet the new coach who never met Brady, his name was Tyrone Wheatley. Some of you may recognize him as a Michigan All-American NFL player. He never met our son Brady. He got the job about 5 days before Brady passed. And he chartered a bus, and he filled it full of team members that he didn't even know their names. And he rode 2 hours to the city of Ithaca, and he sat through darn near a 2-hour funeral and 2 hours back. So when your son passes, you have to go down to the school, and you have to clean out their apartment. Absolutely heartbreaking experience. Brady's roommate, Brody, helped us. And while we're on campus, I said, Christy, I have to meet Coach Wheatley. And I went over to the football offices, and Coach Wheatley was in a meeting. Some guy all dressed in a suit. I'm sure it was an important meeting, but at that point, I really didn't care. And I knocked on the door, and I said, I need to meet with him right now. And he got up and walked out. Took him a minute, I think, to realize who I was. And I said, Coach Wheatley, I have to thank you. He goes, you don't have to thank me. He said, I had to do it. And I said, no, you didn't even know my son. And he said, I'm going to tell you something, Terry. He said, to coach people, they have to know you care. If you're going to coach people, they have to know that you care about them. And he goes, and I could see the pain in my players' eyes, the impact that your son Brady had on our team. And that's why I had to do it. And I said, and I will root for Coach Wheatley. Unfortunately, his career just came to an end at Wayne State, but he was an outstanding person, a much better person than he is football coach. But those are the two stories I wanted to share with you, example of the type of person Brady was. I won't bore you with our mission statement from the B4 Foundation. And just understand this, that towards the end of the mission statement, before you hurt yourself, before you hurt someone that you love, before you give up, before you throw in the towel, reach out to someone and talk to them. Every major decision I ever made in my life, I talked to somebody before I made it. Now, I'm not talking about suicide, but let's use these examples. I wanted to ask this girl named Christy to marry me many years ago. And this is a true story. I had a friend named Bubba. Bubba was my best friend. All right, Bubba, I'm thinking about asking Christy to marry me. And his response was, yeah, I like her. And it's worked out great. She's an amazing wife, an amazing friend. Before I took a job in Ithaca, I called my brother. Before I built a house, I called someone. You get the idea? Before you make a decision that's going to change your life path, talk to somebody first. That's all we're asking you to do as a foundation. When Brady passed, a girl that lived in our neighborhood with Brady and kind of grew up with Brady, she purchased the first B4 bracelets. And she brought them over to us, and we handed them out. And they went out really fast. Everybody wanted them. So we started handing them out at presentations. Well, I spoke up at Bay City Western High School. Bay City Western High School is a big high school. I spoke to 800 or 900 kids, however many they have at their high school. And the next day, I'm in my office, and the phone rings. And it's a mom from Bay City Western. Now, I've been in administration long enough to know that when moms call you, they're not calling to check on you or your temperature. I've been in there long enough, so I'm going to try to take this one in. She says, were you at Bay City Western High School? I said, yes, I was. She goes, did you give my son a bracelet? No, I did not give your son a bracelet. I provided bracelets. Your son must have chose to take one. That was the administrative experience. See, I sidestepped maybe a possible grenade there, right? She says to me, I want you to know that this morning my son was wearing that bracelet at breakfast. And I said, what is that? What is B4? And my son told me your son Brady's story. And then he broke down and he started crying. It's like, why is he crying? He didn't know Brady. What's he crying about? That bracelet allowed me to have a conversation with my son I didn't know I needed to have. She goes, I had no idea my son was struggling. None. And I want to thank you. And so that's one of the reasons that we're continuing to do what we do. And we're going to provide these bracelets to every single person that wants one. If you want one, take one. If you don't want one, don't take one. I won't know. You're not going to hurt my feelings. But if you take one, wear it. Put it on your wrist and wear it. And I was so thankful when I walked in today and some of the guys had them on from last year. And I'm so appreciative that you're still wearing those and how much that means to me. All right? So we buy those 5,000 at a time now, and we hand them out all over the place to people so we can share Brady's. If your bracelet breaks, contact me. I'll get you a new one. I had a person today from the Thumb area in the state of Michigan that said, hey, my bracelet broke. No problem. I'll get you a new one. I'll put it in the mail to you tomorrow. All right? I will do that personally. I've done that many times. If you give it away because you shared Brady's story, again, I'll get you a new one. Just let me know. It means that much to me about those bracelets. One last story. In our little small community in Ithaca, we have a restaurant called the Hearthstone Bakery. And they do breakfast and lunch. And they do such a good job on breakfast and lunch, they don't even stay open for dinner. They just count their money, I think, in the afternoon, okay? And I'm not on their payroll. They're not paying me to say this. But it's the best place in town to eat. It's amazing. It really is. And it's a bakery, and they got cinnamon rolls like the size of your head, right? I mean, they're huge. And it's a great place to eat, great breakfast. And my wife and I, we go there every Saturday. We go there every single Saturday because with an athletic director's life, I don't see my wife that often. All right, so on Saturdays, we would go to the Hearthstone Oven, and we'd talk about the week that was and the week that's coming up and kind of make plans how we were going to get through the next week. And we did that for years. And when Brady passed away, what did we do? We stopped going to the Hearthstone Oven. We didn't go to the bank, the post office, the work, grocery store. Thank goodness for the people in our community and our surrounding communities who took care of us, because I honestly can't tell you how many weeks or months it was that we didn't leave our home. And why didn't we leave our home? Why didn't we go to the Hearthstone Oven? We were embarrassed. We were ashamed. People were going to judge us. He must be a terrible father. She must be a terrible mother. All those things are going through our head. And I went to Christy and I said, you know what? We're going to go back to the Hearthstone Oven. And if you go in the Hearthstone Oven on a Saturday morning, it's packed. It's going to be packed. So we go in there. We walk in, got our head down, walked back, got a table, sat down, and we ate our breakfast. We had our coffee and toast, and we talked. And we got up to leave. And when we got up to leave, you know what happened? You know what happened? Nothing. Nothing happened. There was no shame. There was no embarrassment. There was no stigma. There was nobody that judged us, at least not out loud. What there was a room full of people that you could almost feel them putting their arms around us and hugging us and supporting our family for what we've been through. It was amazing. And when I get to the door, I pay my bill. And in the door, there's a girl wearing a B4 t-shirt in red and black. All right? We don't allow red and black in our house, okay? We can't, because I've had too many teams that we've had run-ins with that wear red and black. So we have this. I'm long known for this dislike of red and black, right? So this girl, who's a student athlete from 8 miles up the road from our school, I can't name the school, she has on a B4 t-shirt, red and black. I go to the door. She opens the door for me. She's standing there with her mom and dad. And I said, hey, I really like your t-shirt. And we get back to the car, and my wife starts smacking me. She goes, you don't like red and black? Why do you say that? Christy, that's not the point. The point was she was wearing the B4 shirt. That was the point I was trying to make. And I got home. Within 1 hour, I got a message on my computer. I held the door for you at Hearthstone Oven. Yes, I remember. Thank you very much. I want you to know I'm suicidal. I mean, my jaw hit the keyboard. I'm like, oh, crap. I start thinking about all the people at that school. Who do I know? Do I know the counselor? Do I know a coach? Somebody I can call because I don't know mom and dad. She goes, I want you to relax. You don't need to get me talking, because that's one of the things I want to do is get her talking. She goes, I've heard you speak. And the moment I read Brady's story, I went to my mom and dad. And I said to them, something's wrong. Something is wrong with me. And they're like, well, you're a fantastic athlete and you're a great student. Then why don't I feel that way? And she goes, they got me help. Because of Brady's story, they got me help. And I'm seeing a counselor. And she goes, I want you to know something, Mr. Hesbrook. Please continue to share Brady's story, because it might not mean something to every single person in the room when you talk. She goes, but that story changed my life path. And that's why I came down here today, to share our son Brady's story with you, in hopes that if there's somebody that's maybe off path, we can get them back on that path before. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Please join me again in thanking Terry for this meaningful, impactful. Let's take a moment to pause and think about Terry and Brady and his family. And let's take the courage to put on the bracelet. And let's all agree to continue to have this conversation and create a culture of caring. Let's create a conversation about breaking the stigma. This is the time. Let's break it. Let's talk about it. Let's have some meaningful intentions. How many of you guys know student well-being and where we're located? How do many of you guys know we offer free mental health counseling for students? Now you all know we're here. We're located in C206. We are here to be able to meet with you. If this message felt familiar to you, to a friend, to your roommate, come see us, connect with someone. Faculty and staff are here, connect with someone on campus. We want to create a culture where we can continue to support each other. There is this Navigate Your Wellbeing card. Everybody take that, please. Hold that in your hand and put it in your cell phone. These are options for you to connect for mental health counseling. If you don't mind switching to the next slide, there we go. It's okay to ask for help, right? This is our message. There's the 988 number, which is the number you can call at any time. And guess what? You can text. You can text them and talk to someone immediately. Student Wellbeing has partnered with Timely Care, which is a digital mental health platform, and we now have a crisis number. It is on this card, 269-927-2828. You can call it at any time. You can call it for yourself. You can call it for a friend. You can call it for a family member, and you can talk to them at any time of the day. We know crises happen at any moment, and we know that before you act, reach out, connect with someone. These are a list of your resources. Keep them in your phone. There's the QR codes. Please connect. Please come visit Berrien County Suicide Prevention Coalition. And again, please thank Terry for a wonderful presentation, meaningful, impactful. Just some other housekeeping information. If you please take your card, we want you to know you're enough, you're worthy, and your story is important to us. There is a little bonus if you did get a little extra thing. There is a t-shirt that is the B4 t-shirt in gray. So please stop over here if you haven't already gotten it. And then there's an evaluation code. And if you were part of any extra credit that you need, please scan the QR code. There are handouts on the table, so easy access to do that code. The fidgets are for you guys to take. And if there's any leftover food, please come see us. We're happy to pack that up for you guys to take it home. Again, thank you all for being here. Yes, we're going to do a picture of all of us. And then just to continue our conversation around breaking the stigma, we have a basketball game to support the women and the men's basketball next Wednesday. Free t-shirts we're giving away. And then the following Wednesday with TJ Duckett talking about resiliency and mental health. So please, let's continue this conversation this entire month. Thank you, everybody.
Because as you know, once you become part of our family, you're part of our family. And we're going to show some love to them as well. So please stop by Sarah and Rob to sign the cards, to give them our condolences, because it hurts when you lose someone, and I think you just heard that tonight, right? And the other piece that I'm going to tell you is you're not weak. Don't ever think, I allowed to say anything and I'm going to be weak. That's nonsense. When you speak, you are one of the strongest individuals that I'll ever know. So keep that carried. Feel me? Give me 3 claps.